Hi, welcome to our session of Parenting in the Digital Age, Navigating Cyberbullying, Social Media, and Online Boundaries. My name is Maria Pia Ulrich. I'm the Multicultural Coordinator for Successful Innovations. My email is located in the bottom of this presentation. Please remember that you are always welcome to email me if you have any questions. I have a 24-hour turnaround, sometimes 48, depending on the day. All right. And let's go ahead and get started. So today's agenda, we are going to be talking about understanding what is the digital landscape and what is to have a digital footprint. What is cyberbullying, social media, and mental health? How do those two connect? We're going to also be talking about setting up healthy boundaries for our children at home with social media. And we're going to talk about strategies of how to do this. One of the key strategies that deserves a whole slide on its own is communication. So we're going to talk specifically about how to build that trust relationship. And then we're going to talk about other tools that we can use at home to support our kiddos. And we're going to talk about some resources and supports that are out there for us as parents. So if you are watching this remotely, go ahead and take a moment to think about this question. When you think of technology, what are your worries about what your child's doing online? What are your worries about technology in general? So focus on this question right here. What are your worries about technologies for your kiddo? I would say pause the video, take about a good 20, maybe maybe a good 20 minutes of just writing out a list of everything that concerns you about technology. Because if I'm going to be honest, as a parent myself, I know there's several things that I can think of. So if you're watching us remotely, pause the video. All right. And if you are watching us live, you are welcome to start your list on what are the worries that you have about technology. Also, because we're a small group, if you would like to share on the chat box, you are always welcome to do so. You can just send us a message about what are your worries about technology. For instance, for me as a parent, a worry about technology, if I'm going to be honest, is the current state of AI. I have noticed that there's so many different AI games out there that it makes me very scared. I know this as a personal experience. My son has a really, really good friend, and sometimes they have sleepovers where either he comes over or they go to his house. At some point, either at our friend's house or at our house, his friend found this AI game where he can just chat and the AI responds, and it has pictures of teenage girls, and it is completely online, and it is an AI, it is a bot, it's not a real person that they're talking on the other side. And I remember from being a 90s kiddo that the main concern is that you could meet a stranger online. Now the concern is there, but there's also now this concern that your kiddos could be talking to an artificial intelligence that might be telling them who knows what. So come to find out, my son showed me, hey mom, let me show you what so and so showed me. And I got very scared. I was like, oh no. And I had to sit down and had a conversation. And I'm so glad that he came to me and talked to me about it, because I know sometimes at that age of being 12, being 11, 12, it is easier to just say, oh, everything's fine, or not communicate right away. So when you're thinking, what are your worries about technology? There's just so much out there. There's this infinite world of possibilities when the kiddos have access to the internet and they have access to a computer, a phone, a Chromebook. So start thinking about your list. What are those things that concern you as a parent? Okay. And now let's go ahead and talk about if you are doing your list on your own, that's okay. You're always welcome to continue it after a session and just pinpoint those things that are scary for you as a parent. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about understanding digital landscape and the digital footprint. So now, what are the platforms that our kids are using? The most common ones, the populars are TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, streaming videos. I remember back in the early 2000s, there was a streaming platform very similar to YouTube that it was like Wimo, where you could make your own video or buy them and then put it out online. What online gaming are they using? What chat features they're using? For instance, um, my sons, they're middle school age. My oldest one likes Minecraft. So when he plays Minecraft, there's a chat feature on the gaming. And my husband has blocked it. So the way if he ever chats with anybody, it's only with friends that we have approved. I know other platforms like Roblox have the same feature. So it's a matter of figuring out how are our kiddos communicating and who are they communicating with online. And also knowing what platforms and what things they have access to. Depending on the age of our children, if they're more of high school age, they might have social media. And they, by the time that we are doing this, there might be other platforms that we are not fully aware of. Because when I grew up, there was MySpace and Facebook. When you use those platforms, MySpace, you had your friends popped on the beginning of the picture or of your page. And then now when you had Facebook, you would only add people according to your university. And then it took out the university email feature. And now anybody could have Facebook. I was talking to my sister. My sister and I were from two different generations. She is at least 20 years younger than me. Sorry, 16 years younger than me. And I'm talking to her. She's in a different stage of life. And she says to me, Facebook is for old people. So now, as a parent who has a middle schooler and a sister that is in a different stage of life, I'm thinking, what are these platforms that they're using? I know my sister uses TikTok. I know she uses Snapchat. And then I'm wondering what is going to be out there for my kids that they have access to. What have I approved of? What are they curious of? And what they're trying to access. We also have to acknowledge something. And I went to dissertation defense, and the person did a lot of research about the dangers of social media and the dangers of technology. In that letter, in her work, she mentioned something that back in the 90s, when the internet was coming out, there were some experts that were saying they could talk to the kids that have access to the internet, they could talk to anybody. And it seemed to be like such a wild idea, but fast forward to 2026, it is true. Our kids can talk to anybody, anywhere in the world. You are watching this webinar right now, and Kate, Kayla is in the East Coast. I'm in Japan. You're probably watching this in another area of the East Coast. So just knowing that we have access 24/7 to be connected and communicated. Also, another thing that it's much different from when we grew up is that everything that goes on online becomes your digital footprint. So if you Google your name and you have had social media, all of those social medias come up. If you Google your name and you have been in a news article, or you have created a video, or you have posted a comment, it is attached to you. And then the companies start gearing that information to show you posts, show you stuff that might interest you. That is how their marketing works. So if our kids that are so young have a cell phone, they are already marketing them then to them at an early age. They're already learning what they like, what those companies are learning what our kids like, and they are showing it out. Something that I'm sure as parents we notice is that there's a brain rot language that got spread and infused by the kids being able to have access to the internet, share things to each other, and it is spread much quicker than before. Now, we also need to be aware that when our kids post something online for a little while, my oldest one really wanted to create a YouTube channel. So he was curating and cleaning out the YouTube channel to fit the aesthetic he wanted. As he was doing that, he noticed that I noticed too, and we had a conversation about this. He was looking at he was posting videos of him just playing a game on his phone. So there was no face, it was just the screen that he was recording and posting those videos. As he was doing them, he realized, oh, what are the comments saying? How many likes do I have? And it was something like 10 likes, and it's just showing him, like it's showing the screen where the plane is flying and then it's trying to get another plane. So it's not showing him, it's not showing anything of his opinion. It just showed a 10-second snippet of a video game that he screen recorded. And he is worried about the likes, the followers, but it's just something that in our brain that gives us dopamine. We are thinking, oh, this is a good feeling. Yay. That's why we end up doom scrolling. And we end up seeing how everybody else is doing. What is everybody else taking for lunch? What are they thinking? And this matters because if as an adult we are in social media and we're feeling bad about perhaps, oh, I feel bad because there's this 20-year-old who is a billionaire living in Dubai, making millions of dollars, and I am this age now and I haven't done X, Y, and Z. As an adult, sometimes we see them, we compare, and we are thinking, oh, my self-esteem, what are my relationships? What is going on? If that happens to us as an adult in the powers of a child that is still developmenting, that creates a bigger sense of stress and self-esteem. And the comparison becomes higher and higher. And to an extent, we already have consumerism telling us, buy this. If you buy this product, your skin will be better. If you work out this much, this will happen. We have those products being sold to us. And then if we give that access to our children, what are they watching? What are they seeing? What conversations are we having? Because if we are consistently feeling bad, that creates anxiety. If we're consistently looking up online how everybody's having this amazing life and we're doom scrolling rather than going out and hanging out with our friends, that affects our relationships, which by de facto affects our emotional well-being. How are we feeling at the moment about this? What do we want to do after? And all of that is interconnected. So if our children are getting all of those things coming out at them at such a young age, 10, 11, and so on, and even if they have YouTube Kids, they're getting a specific show coming up at them. So we just have to be aware of what is it, and we can't escape it. So what we have to do is try our best to help them build healthy habits. Another point to talk about is Cyberbullying. We would like to think that I would like to think that this is not the trajectory we're going, but or that this is happening, but it is happening. It is happening at our schools. It is happening with our children. In fact, my sons had to, their whole grade level had to sit down for a cyberbullying um, meeting to learn about what it is and how to handle it because there was a cyberbullying incident. Yes, my children were not involved, and I know some of their friends were not involved either. However, all of this, it affects, and it is this idea of who gets to see what and when. And in their case, because they're fairly new to their school, they were not aware of the incident itself, and they didn't know what happened. But we still had to have this conversation with them because this is a real problem in our schools. So let's start with what is cyberbullying? Cyberbullying is a repeated harmful behavior using digital tools. Here is where it gets tricky because the internet is a permanent place. If somebody goes and posts a list like most handsome boys, most prettiest girls, or the other way around, ugliest girls or ugliest boys, if you post those lists, even though you did it one time, because it is there permanently, it is spreading around. So it becomes a repeated harmful thing. So we really have to go and talk about what it is to post and how to do it responsibly. Because there is positives to technology, and we're going to talk about that later on, but there's also negatives. So in this case, an examples of cyberbullying would be a message that tries to promote meanness or ill intent, exclusion, and sharing comment without consent. Sometimes, because our children have the access to the phone so quickly in our early age, I remember when I was teaching, some of the kids in first grade will have a cell phone. Well, that cell phone gives them access to taking pictures. It's not like the 90s anymore or the 80s where it was just the flip phone and the flip phone could barely text or it was just to make phone calls. No, this time that phone has an immense amount of tools embedded in it. Therefore, if there's a camera, the kids are like, oh, picture. We have to talk to them very early. You cannot take the picture of somebody without their consent, especially in the classroom or the teacher or your friends during recess, because those are supposed to be safe spaces. So to do that, we're violating the right of another person. And we really have to teach them that because we wouldn't want somebody just to go around taking pictures of our children. I would not want somebody going around taking pictures of my sons and posting it online. So we have to remember what is a safe space, what is appropriate. And most of the time, when things like that happen, the kids are scared sometimes to come and talk to us about it. So we really have to be vigilant about this and look at what is going on around and be aware of their age group as well and who their friends are. Are they mood changes? Are they feeling anxious? Are they feeling withdrawal? Are they avoiding to go to class? Are they avoiding to go to school? Do they usually start feeling physically ill when they think about doing certain activity? And we have to be aware of overusing the devices. There is a fascinating tool on the phone. If you go to the left, it tells you exactly how much screen time you have had. I use my Google Maps and it shows me this is what you used and how much time you have used it. So if our children at that age where we think that it's appropriate for them to have a cell phone, we also have to monitor it. So we have to see if they're overusing the phone or what is going on. Because of the hour change, and because we're currently living in Japan, my children have friends from the East Coast because we used to live in Virginia. So sometimes we're going up and about, and my youngest son share his phone number with one of his friends so he can keep in contact with. And then we are going up and about, and it is Sunday for us, and it's about 2 p.m. That's 1 a.m. and he's getting a text message from an 11 for his friend, an 11-year-old. And I'm thinking about it and I'm talking to him. How does that 11-year-old is able to be texting at that late of a time? Does he have the phone with him in the room? Is he charging the phone in the room? Because something as simple as charging your phone in the room is such an easy temptation for our children to utilize the phone at times that they shouldn't, because they need the rest, they need their hours of sleep. So are they using the time to be doing something that they shouldn't be doing? How is their school performance going? What are their friendships? If our kiddos are doom scrolling where they're watching videos over and over and over and over, and they're not looking around at what's going on, and they're not going out to hang out with their friends, and their temperament has changed, then something else is going on. Think about us as an adult. How do we feel when we're doom scrolling? It takes our mind away. Okay, it takes our mind away from what? What is it that we are worrying about? And kids are very good at looking at us and mimicking us with our actions. As parents, we don't realize that we're doing it. And then you look at them and they're doing the same thing you were doing. And it's just this effect. So as parents, what can we do? This is, I think, the hardest part for me is staying calm and listening and actively listening. Because so quickly I want to say, well, you should have done X, Y, and Z. But instead, we have to ask a line of questioning. How come you took the choice? Oh, what would you have done if this would have happened? Okay, let's think about the consequences of X, Y, and Z. If something major that you notice that is going on, you have to take screenshots of it and save that evidence because you might have to call the police, you might have to call the school, and you might also have to save that screenshot to report it to the application or the website that your kiddos are using it from. Because if there's no evidence, they may not know what the problem is with their software, with their product. And especially at those middle school age and high school age, as they're teenagers, reassuring them that they're not alone. Because we went through being teenagers and going through different stages of life. And our kiddos are doing that now, except they're doing it in a world of social media and digital footprints where everything they do can be recorded and documented and stay there forever. Okay. So um, let's go ahead and talk about social media and mental health. What are the potential risks and what are the potential benefits? A risk of social media is that comparison culture that we talked about previously. and thinking that we're not good enough. The fear of missing out, the FOMO. Well, I saw my friend doing this online, or I saw this person. And I'm going to be honest with you, I sometimes get FOMO. If I'm watching social media and I see somebody's having a wonderful vacation somewhere, my fear is like, oh man, I'm so happy for them, but I would also like to do that too. Am I missing out because I'm not going on this wonderful vacation? But then if we think about it, we're in different stages of life. So we can't compare what another person is doing because we are dealing with a different reality. And is it disrupting our sleep? Are we too worried to use it at night? The electronics are our kids disrupting sleep. I can tell you that my one of my son's friends, um, that technology is disrupting his sleep because he doesn't know when to stop. He's still using it at 1 in the morning, and he shouldn't be. And we have to also be aware of the exposure of inappropriate and harmful content. Um, if we notice something inappropriate on our children's technology, because sometimes the kids don't realize this, but they'll send each other pictures of something. Well, no, if we're doing that, that's technically the distribution of something inappropriate. So that can have higher ramifications. So we also have to talk to our kiddos about that. So the potential benefits of social media, if we're being honest, is that we can stay in contact with our friends. We can create videos to share ideas, express ourselves, explore our interests and our identity as human beings. Yes, those are positive aspects, but we also have to put limits and parameters. So this sometimes is the hardest thing I think is we talk regularly to our children, but they hit a certain stage where they're like, fine, I'm just fine. Okay, well, tell me how it's school. Fine, I need more. So we have to go and ask those probing questions to be like, hey, I noticed that today you had a B day. How was it having a B day today? Tell me about how was your class for English language arts? How was it? Oh, tell me more about this. And just have them talk to you over and over and over. Because then eventually they just start talking to you about everything. But it takes time. And it's having to help them as well balance the offline and the online usage. Everything that is happening on Instagram or everything that is happening on TikTok, most of those things are curated. They are made to look good. Rarely is the time that you see a video of somebody going through something difficult filming themselves because they're too busy dealing with the situation. Sometimes there is videos that show sad things or they show things going on, but there's an alternative motive of I want attention. I want somebody to say something to me. Or is this my mechanism to cope because I need validation, external validation to deal with a situation? And we have to model those healthy social media habits for our children so they can mimic them themselves and they have an idea of how to connect and what they need to do. So we have to set up those healthy boundaries. We have to put a limit on their screen time. We have to put parental controls. Um, my youngest one just got a cell phone. And out of my two kids, that is the kiddo that I'm like, probably should not have a cell phone because I know you're going to want to use it often. So what we have set up is parental controls because I do need him to have the cell phone so I can talk to him after school and I can track how long it's taking him to walk from the bus stop back to the house. At the same time, we have set up parental controls where he can download an application without a specific password. Our children know all our passwords. However, we had to come out with an alternative password that only my husband and I know, where he can actually see that he doesn't actually know. And then we also have to look at what is age appropriate for the platforms and the movies. And we also have to be aware of this. What is age appropriate for us as parents may not be age appropriate for their friend's house. That might either be like, yes, that was age appropriate 3 years ago, or no, that will not be age appropriate 3 or 5 years from now. So we have to teach them about digital responsibility because they have a digital footprint. They, even if they don't necessarily have a device, and we're like, okay, my child doesn't have a cell, my child doesn't have social media, my child doesn't have a tablet, but they have access to Chromebooks at schools. They have access to that to do their work. So we have to also talk to them about putting content out there that it is true, kind, and necessary, where we respect others online and understanding the digital footprint. The digital footprint, even though our schools do an amazing job trying to keep things confidential, the digital footprint starts building up. And even if our kiddos are not putting stuff themselves online, it starts collecting data on what they like and what they don't like. So we have to be aware of that. And we have to find that balance of monitoring it and trusting what is going on. When our children are younger, there's more supervision. And sometimes we start letting them. I remember when my sons went to kindergarten, I would walk with them from point one to point B and then drop them off to their class and do all of this stuff. And now they're in middle school. I don't do that anymore because they're older. They don't need me to do that as much. And sometimes the fear might be that because they're older, they still need that supervision. They still need that conversation. They still need to be guided through this independence and setting those parental controls and privacy settings. Most of the applications now, they do try to collect their data. So we have to be very aware of what we are agreeing upon. And sometimes there's not as forthcoming as they should be on what is being collected and how. So we really have to dig into those user agreements and look through that. And as a mom and as a person that is working and doing all of these things, sometimes it's hard to sit down and try to read an 100-page document. But I would recommend you to just scroll really quick to the privacy area to try to see what are they actually collecting. So strategies that we can do at home. This is key, is communication. How are we facilitating communication at home with our children? Are we creating a calm, safe space where we're being not judgmental? Something that my sister, because my sister's younger than me for about 16 years, something that she taught me early on was that she will come and try to tell me a story. And she's like, oh, I want to tell you X, Y, and Z, and I just want you to laugh. And because we have that big age gap, I automatically go and I talk to her about it in the extent of I'm the adult and I am teaching you this and I'm telling you this. However, she's like she said to me, "You're not mom," which is true, but I'm coming here to make you laugh or tell you something as my sister, but then you're coming being judgmental, so it makes me not want to share it with you. So that to me taught me that when I'm talking to my children, I have to really try to hold back that judgment because I'm the parent and I'm still responsible for everything they do, but I have to have them feel that trust where they can come and communicate with me and they can tell me what is going on. And this is the hardest part for me as a parent, if I'm being honest, is watching myself of how I'm asking questions. Because I try to ask more questions to guide them rather than telling them, do this. And as I'm asking those questions, I say, oh, how come you did that? And then I try to understand their point of view. And then they explained it to me and said, oh, what would have happened if, or have you considered doing this? What would have happened if you would have done this? How come this may not have worked? How come this could have worked? And then I give them examples, and it is longer because as a parent, sometimes it's easier to just say, do this. And I agree. Sometimes I do that because that's what the situation needs. But when it comes to that communication piece, we want to really build that trust bridge between ourselves and our kiddos. And we really have to try to keep the conversation open where we are not overreacting because they're less likely to come and talk to us. And what we talked about, the open-ended questions. What do you enjoy most about online? Have you ever seen something that makes you feel uncomfortable? What is your favorite thing to do online? What is your favorite, what is your least favorite thing to do with a computer? How come you like those video games? What makes them more entertaining? And I am not a video game person, but I will sit down with my son sometimes and I will have him show me how he plays Minecraft. And we really have to normalize mistakes. It is something that happens, and we have to talk about it, and we have to communicate, and we have to remember that the purpose of a mistake is to learn from it and build up. So not every mistake necessarily requires a punishment. And we have to really reinforce the idea of come to me, I'm here for you. And it can be a moment where we just say that, they actually have to internalize them. And that's why it's so important to build this so we can build that trust and communication with them. And we have to be present. We have to really show interest on what applications they're using, the games that they're playing, the platforms they're visiting, and sharing and having them share their experiences and my own experiences about things that I have dealt with online and talk to them about it. And it's funny because the kids really think that we're just so old and we don't know anything, but we have been dealing with technology and social media for a while now. So other strategies to do at home is view where your child's playing and play those games with them. If they like to play Madden, sit down with them and play Madden. Have them show to you how they do it. Sometimes I have to be honest, I'm thinking, what are they doing with the controllers? But we really have to see how they're using their skills, why they're using a certain skill, why are they doing this, why are they doing the other, because that builds that relationship and trust. And then we can see the games that they are playing, and we might agree or we might not agree with those games. And then we can decide how to put a stop to it or how we allow them to still play or even use it as an incentive. And keeping those devices at a shared space. So, yes, my children do have a phone, but I also have access to their password. Every time I say to my oldest one, hey, I need your phone, he literally goes like this. Here you go. Here you go, mom. And then he opens it up for me, or I open it up myself because I have the password. And then I look through it. Like he'll be okay with me seeing all of his text messages and all of the stuff. I'm like, oh, I just want to know what you're talking about. Let me see. Can you tell me? Oh, I noticed that so and so said that. How come? And then I get to see what they're doing. And then also modeling the healthy tech usage. If we are sitting down doing scrolling, our children will do that. They will sit down and do scroll or enjoy certain things. So we actually have to model it. And we also have to set up a regular time to do the digital check-ins. I do a check-in to their school computer. So when they come after school, I can't remember if we do it at the beginning of the week where they open their computer and I see their computer, and you can see the tabs. For example, my youngest one can have like two or three tabs about games that he was playing with instead of actually listening to his teacher. So that's a whole other conversation we can have about that and the technology usage and what do we need to do and how do how come we were doing that in class. And they show me their grades. So as they're opening the computer, you can see all of the things that they did. You can see the history. You can also create your own family digital plan. When is the days that you talk to them about technology? When are the days that you check their technology? Who are they chatting with? Who are they talking? What applications do they have on their phone? And Apple has this wonderful thing with parental settings that when you link the accounts, you can block it. So it could just be a brick where they get phone calls, text messages. So depending on what you're looking for as a parent and what is appropriate for your home. Some other resources is talk to the school. If you notice something, the adults in the school have also noticed it too. Talk to the teachers, talk to admin, try to figure out, depending on what it is that you're looking for or what it is that may have happened. If you have to report something, then you need to report it right away. And websites that are helpful that are right here is Common Sense Media and StopBullying.com. Right here, Common Sense Media gives you where the ratings are um, for certain movies because the movie might say PG-13 and they have editor resources, they have books, they have things that you can look for the books because not all books are PG rated. And then there's also stopbullying.gov where there's prevention of learning how to identify bullying and how to stand up to it safely. And encourage ongoing questions, learnings, communication with our kiddos. Here are references. Thank you so much for joining us today in this session. Let me go ahead and put it in the front if you need my email. If you have any questions, please drop them off in the chat box or raise your hand. I'm here and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you for joining us today on this session. Kayla, are you there?